Hi there, this is Chuck Rozanski, the president of Mile High Comics Inc., and I'm here at the last day of the San Diego Comic-Con. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Things are going to shut down here in 1 hour. I wanted to give you a little bit of sense of what it's like for us on a Sunday afternoon. This may seem odd, but unlike other comic book conventions, what happens at San Diego is that everyone holds off until Sunday to make their purchases on comics, especially the kinds of comics that we sell, which are $2, $3, $4 comics, because they're heavy and bulky, and parking here around the convention center is very difficult to get. So except for the few people that have hotel rooms, it serves people well to wait until the last day, pick up their comics, and then take them with them as they're leaving. So let's take a look real quick at our booth here, and I'll show you a couple of things about the economics of what we do. First off, I can tell you, and I'm thrilled to death to be able to tell you this, that we broke even as of 1 o'clock this afternoon. So from 1 o'clock on, so the last 4 hours or 10% of the show, we're actually going to be generating some degree of income, some degree of revenue. It's not going to be huge, but we'll get by. But let's take a look at our bins for a second. When we shipped out our 47 bins, they were pretty well packed, but we left enough room in them so that you could open them and be able to get to the comics comfortably. What I wanted to show you was that this is about how full the bin was when we shipped it from Colorado. Essentially, almost nothing has sold from this particular row. Now this row is sold pretty well, probably because it's got Sin City by Frank Miller in it, and so we've sold a few of those. These two rows here, we sold a little. This entire bin doesn't look like we've sold more than 10 or 20 comics out of it. The significance of what I'm trying to show you here by just sort of randomly pulling out these drawers is that we bring 100,000 comics with us to the convention in order to sell no more than 5,000 or 6,000. And the economics of that are very difficult, and that's why we have to be very efficient in the way that we use space here, and why we have to bring such an immense diversity. This is arguably the largest comic book convention in North America, with 160 to 200,000 different fans coming, and yet even here we can only sell 6, 7, maybe 8,000 comics. And in order to do that, we have to bring this unbelievably huge diversity, because we never know who's going to come and what's going to be on their want list. So it's one of those economic realities that we just have to hope that we guess right. One thing that is nice, if you take a look, we have at least 30 or 40 people that are in our booth right now, many of whom are going to end up making purchases, and since we're past break even, we're actually going to make a little bit of money on this. The irony is that if you take into account the time and energy that we put into this in Denver, we actually aren't making money. Okay, we're now down in a section of the convention that we have not yet visited in all the various newsletters that we've done. This is Artist Alley, and the reason why we haven't been here is because for years the convention has separated the comic book and fantasy artists from the area where comics and fantasy is sold. I've always thought that this was a little bit odd, but their argument has been that they wanted to try and get comics fans and art fans to go through the entire building. The problem is that the media hall, so Mattel and Lego and Hasbro, are in between us, and then the publisher halls, which would be your Marvel, not so much Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Top Cow Image, all the smaller press publishers are then in between also. And it's really kind of a little odd that the creators and the retailers are so far apart in the building. But it's what is. But I thought we would take a quick walk through Artist Alley, because it's really rather large here. It's one of the largest artist alley, if not the largest artist alley. And San Diego does subsidize the creators that are down here, which is a really good thing. So it is one of the things that they do that's altruistic and that really benefits the community. The same thing with programming, and this is something that I didn't mention in any of my earlier newsletters. San Diego does an exemplary job of creating programming about comics for comics fans, and I think they're the very best at creating programming that's about the history of comics fans and comic fandom. But this separation of us, I mean, it is literally from where I'm standing right now to our booth. I would say that it's well over 1,000 feet. So we're talking about a quarter mile of walking to go from Artist Alley down to where our booth is in the north end of the building. But let's just take a quick little walk here, and you'll see that Artist Alley also has a lot of other booths in it, but the basic premise is that it's about art and original art and creators being able to show off their works. Where we are now is the actual Artist Alley, where tables are available for artists where they can do sketches and they can show people their upcoming publications. This area is not huge, but I believe it's the largest Artist Alley that's available anywhere in the comics world. A lot of great comics have been discovered here, and this is where small creators from little towns all across the world come, hoping that some writer or editor will see them and will help launch their careers so that they can be the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or whatever, and so that they can hit that home run. I know that San Diego has been the catalyst for that many times in the past, and I'll bet you that there's someone from here who was optioned and who will see their comic as a film over the next year or two. That's just the way the process happens. But this is a creative dynamic at its best. Fans voting with their wallets as to who has got the most interesting artwork, who has the most interesting project going forward. All right, for our last little segment here at the 2015 San Diego Comic-Con, I'm going to do something which was in enormous doubt prior to my arriving, and that was renewing for 2016. As I said in the very first video in this series, if we didn't break even here this year, I was done. And I meant it, I really did. We made it this year, just barely, so maybe we'll make it next year. This is Chuck Rozanski from the San Diego Comic-Con. Thanks for watching all these videos. They've been really fun to make, and I hope you have a great time reading comics tonight.